afternoon, board members, Mr. Santos, and district staff. Time is 12 p.m. on this 17th day of November 2020, and I call this meeting of the United Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. I can have each board member say out their name.
Ricardo Rick Rodriguez.
Roberto Ramirez.
Elisa Oliveros.
Francisco Frank Castillo.
And myself, Ramiro Vélez. The record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Agenda item 4, public comments. No public comments were submitted. Before we proceed, let's go ahead and the Pledge of Allegiance and
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
thank you. Agenda item 5, informational items. Item A, monthly financial report.
Thank you, Mr. Vélez. Members of the board out in the boardroom, audience. We want to bring you our superintendent's monthly financial report. As of October 31st, you'll see that our cash investment balance was $177,459,306. You'll see the breakdown of the different funds. The majority of the money is in general fund, $84.2 million. The bond election money, if you combine all those totals, it's over $77.1 million. 11% of our total portfolio are in demand accounts right now. And the yields there, of course, 0.38%. Interest rates still are low, below 1%. Administrative cost ratio, actual is 8.42. Our budget was 8.38%. Both of those numbers below the 11.05 allowed by TEA. Our unaudited financial statements, which include the month of September and October, our year-to-date revenues is $82.5 million, or 20.56% of our budgeted amount. Last year at this time, we were at 22.74. Our year-to-date expenditures, $86.3 million of a budget of $403.7 million, or 21.39%. Last year at this time, we were at 24.72%. Our current collection rate is at 7.85%. This is on the new roll. We just sent statements at the end of September. We collected $15.9 million. To date, I guess as of November 16th, we collected 10.56%. We'll be keeping a very close eye on our collection rates. As you can see, compared to last year, we're just maybe 1 percentage behind. Delinquent collection rate at 57.87% for $3.76 million has been collected. Purchasing report shows all bids and proposals awarded through last October, and then the grants report section has the grant activity for the month. I don't know if anybody has any questions on any of these things.
No questions.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Vélez, Ricardo Molina, present for the record.
To the record, President. Good afternoon, sir. Item B, prepare for the STAR with benchmark testing 2021. Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, members of the board, Mr. Santos, members of the audience. This afternoon we come with an informational item. Here's a STAR. Recently, Texas Education Agency didn't make a determination as far as guidance with our face-to-face administration for the course at the high school and all levels. So as a district, we made preparations by using benchmark testing to comply with state requirements. The district plan objective is to adjust who the district is making us pretty much requiring us and impacting STAR for the course. So what we did not receive from the state, we never got an official letter or memo, but in hearing the commissioner, at this time looking at what's being highlighted, question number 2, this is the December 2020 STAR administration guidance. The question reads, how can a student who receives remote instruction be administered a STAR intercourse assessment during December 2020 administration? And the state is telling us to ensure equity for all students, a student must be present at a monitored testing session and must be supervised by a trained test administrator to participate in the text assessment program. Now, without reading the rest, the concern here is, as you all know, as a district, we have not had a large number of students reported to campus at this time. It's been remote. But the state is telling us when it comes to intercourse exams, STAR testing, students need to be present. Whether it be online testing or would be face-to-face, they need to be there at the campus. Without going over the question and answer session, move to the next slide, starting with high school. Next slide, please. Keep going. So we did, just to inform you, we worked with our principals a plan to bring in students as part of preparation for the real STAR. And I will tell you, STAR in December, and of course for high school, we have English 1, December the 8th. On December the 9th, we have Algebra 1 and US History, December 10th, English 2 and Biology as well. So we sent out, communicated to parents, we sent out 13,448 school messenger messages about upcoming emails on intercourse. For parents, we sent out 13,403 emails on intercourse information and UISD texts, TA question and answers like the one that was shown. We did communicate to our parents about our benchmarking and our tests. So in preparation for the test, we did our benchmark face-to-face. And this is the rundown on the different days from November the 5th, November the 6th, the 9th, and the 10th, which we did a run through. Now, our numbers clearly indicate we're only having about 50% of our students report to campus. We took all measures. We developed plans, safety plans for our testing environments. We collaborated with our district departments, transportation, food, service. We did temperature checks, provided training sessions for our high school and personnel, and also provided videos demonstrating the procedures. Now, obviously, some campuses have more success than others. So we have some areas of concern, but obviously, the reason we did this is all preparation for the real test. So in working with other departments, go to the next slides. We looked at, okay, what are we gonna do in the spring also for elementary? Working with the elementary department, we'll do some pilots. So looking at face-to-face, we identified 5 campuses, and they're volunteer, and this one is face-to-face online. So what does that mean? Normally the state will give you that day to test pencil and paper, but there also gives the option of doing face-to-face online. So for Clark Elementary, Malakoff, San Isidro, we're gonna allow 50% of students to test in one day with the temperature checks and so forth, the video, the parents, the devices, prior checks and so forth. What they do normally for Dead Bus is they give us 4 weeks. Dead Bus we do for testing, well, 9. We can do a normal STAR also in 4 weeks. So what we're gonna do is, we'll do these 3 campuses in December. The schedule is December 7th to the 11th for benchmarking. But will give us practically almost 2 weeks to do face-to-face online testing for these 3 campuses, okay? So look at the next slide. The next slide is for these 2 campuses, and they're volunteer campuses, a short piece from Juarez Lincoln, Adivia Char, and down is from Bonnie Garcia, they volunteer. These are 2 campuses, we do pencil paper. And the schedule is very clear. December 7th, all the way to the 11th are the benchmarking for these campuses. These will be designated face-to-face, paper, pencil. And we're gonna monitor how they do. So all this is planned to see how we're gonna address in the spring. Now, all the other campuses, all the elementary campuses will be doing their benchmark the way they're doing it right now, remote site. The issue with remote is, it's hard to determine whether the child is actually doing the work himself or getting help from somebody else. And that's why we did we're gonna try to do these tests at these other campuses. Now, for middle school, we'll go to the next slide. Very, very different. Normally in middle school, like we've done in the past, we do our first benchmark as only reading. And I think we're all gonna agree the most important benchmark we have is reading. If you can't read, we'll start to get you the test. We've always done reading only. We've already given them a window as of November 30th to the 11th for a benchmark in reading for middle school. So these will be STAR release tests using online platform. And what it is called Text Help Read Write software program. And this is mimicking the real STAR. And I'm gonna point this out. The following year, 2021, 2022, the state is going to have all tests, assessment tests will be online. But they're still requiring us to doing face-to-face. So what we're doing is, for middle school is, we're going to try to do all our campuses, February and March benchmarking, the schedule is there on the left side, face-to-face testing compliant with district COVID safety protocols, create videos on how students report to campus while complying with campus testing procedures. And we're being a lot of consideration as far as extended days, and obviously we're Final Four students of special ed, these could be done through ARD decisions and so forth. But our middle school principal, Mr. Canales, meeting them actually today to verify this, so this is a working document. But I'm assuring the school board members at this time in our community, as a district, we're not going to sit back and have our state dictate how we do things and so forth. And that's, we have to follow procedures, but at the same time, we have to prepare. So part of preparation is through our benchmarking is, so we're having simulated sessions at our campuses, and obviously we'll have a lot of success. At the same time, we'll have some shortfalls, and we still have time to adjust to prepare for the real test. This time, I thank you for your support. We can move forward with what we have in place. Yes, sir.
Benchmarking for the high school pool. Are they being graded on these benchmarks? Are they mandatory or?
Well, we've had benchmarks, Mr. Montemayor. Not that they're mandatory. We do not give grades. Benchmark is a whole test.
Yeah, I understand. So comparing to the STAR exam, I get the concept, but I'm trying to figure out where you got maybe 50% of your kids showing up, but if they're not, what happens to those 50 that are not showing up? They just basically waive the attendance, they waive their benchmark.
For the benchmark, they still have an opportunity to take it, they just didn't take it at school. And the problem with Montemayor, it's hard to monitor whether they're actually taking it. And I'm not saying that we're going to have people not doing the test, but their possibility is there. So they raise all the possibilities by having them in school. That's what the state is telling us, look, this is an assessment test. You're going to have your children, your students at campus. So we're just trying to simulate it so we can kind of monitor. And again, we're adjusting to see how we can do it better.
Yeah, those are the questions I get from the community.
But there is no test grade for benchmarks, no, sir.
But on the STAR exam, simulating the STAR exam, you're going to spread it out over 2 days. I think I saw it in biology.
Yes.
And 2 days in history. You're going to spread those tests out over a period of time so the kids can have an opportunity to attend. If they can't make the first day, perhaps they can make the second day.
Well, we can have a makeup day. If you go back to the high school, please. No, the only split it up, sir, was the history. Because we had a large number of students. So we split it up so we wouldn't have that many students at the campus.
In one shot.
Okay, one shot.
Now, if they miss the state test, there's one less opportunity.
It's a requirement, and obviously, for the high school, of course, they need to pass these 5 assessment tests to graduate. That's one less opportunity.
And so I guess just a picture, if you're spreading it into different classrooms to accommodate, how many 10 per classroom?
We get them down as phone numbers, yes.
Okay.
Now, at the middle school, we do face-to-face, we'll do some adjustments, obviously, like for Clark Middle, for example, the classrooms are a little bit smaller. Those numbers may have to go to 8 per class. I mean, the numbers will be a little bit smaller. We'll adjust.
Whatever it takes to get a small number. I guess you gotta minimize the risk of these children, especially with the surge in COVID now. You know, we gotta make sure that every classroom has my suggestion, hand sanitizers and, you know, protection equipment and.
We're going to be following all the guidelines, yes, sir.
Okay.
But obviously, we're also getting not only information from our data, but we're trying to get feedback from our campuses, from our teachers and principals. Those are the meetings. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Agenda item 6, items for individual consideration. 6A, approval of monthly disbursements.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Veliz, Board of Trustees. Welcome aboard, Mr. Castillo. I'm Sam Flores, for the record, the Comptroller for UISD. We are presenting the disbursements for the month of October. If any of the board members have any questions.
No, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Flores. I don't have any questions, but wanted to acknowledge your, I guess, greeting me. Thank you very much. Look forward to working with you.
Yeah, likewise, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
We have a motion regarding the approval of monthly disbursements. So move.
Move.
All right, motion, a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. The approval of property tax refunds for the month of October 2020.
Thank you, Mr. Velez. We're bringing for the Board of Trustees approval. Again, Mr. Castillo, this is an item we bring whenever we're required to refund any property taxes that are either overpaid or paid in error. In this case, we're recommending to refund service income taxes, $1,371.23 for an overage. And that's it for this month as far as property tax refund.
Motion to approve. A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those
Thank you very
opposed?
much also for acknowledging me. I appreciate it.
None opposed, motion passes. Thank you, ma'am. Item 6C, resolution of United Independent School District authorizing the filing of a grant application with the South Texas Development Council for a regional solid waste grants program grant.
Thank you, Mr. Velez, again, and I do see Dr. Landick on the Zoom. Just in case you have any questions, this is a grant application. It is recommended the UISD Board of Trustees approve the attached resolution, which will authorize the filling of a grant application with the South Texas Development Council for a regional solid waste grant program. It'll authorize our Director of Grants Administration, Dr. Landick, to act on behalf of UISD in all matters related to this application, and pledging that if the grant is received, we will comply with the grant requirements of the South Texas Development Council, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, and the state of Texas. This particular grant is for 9 dumpster containers that will be at our secondary schools to help facilitate the recycling program that we have. I think it's about $8,600.
Motion to approve.
Second. Move. So move.
Any discussion?
Ma'am, how much money did you say, ma'am?
About $8,600, Mr. Ramirez.
8,000. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? None opposed, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 6D, approval of awarding bids, proposals, and qualifications.
Good afternoon, members of the board, audience, and welcome, Mr. Castillo. I'm Cordelia Jackson for the record. Administration has the following bids for your consideration. RFP 2020-061, virtual anatomy table. The recommended vendor is Anto Gauge Inc. For the amount of $71,200. The next RFP, Ms. Rendon, are you there? I think you wanted to.
Good afternoon, members of the board, members of the audience, and also welcome Mr. Castillo, Gloria Rendon, for the record, Deputy Superintendent for United Independent School District. I want to give you a little bit more information with regards to the RFQ 2020-053, which is a telemedicine services. I think that you will be very pleased, as we are, with this initiative that we are taking. We want to announce it is the first district in South Texas to implement such a program that we are proposing for you all for your approval. I would love to give credit to our Director of Health Services, Ms. Irene Rosales, who spearheaded this initiative, who brought this idea, and hopefully we will see it to fruition. What this entails is that we would have our sites be utilized not only for to diagnose our students with strep and flu testing in our clinics, in our schools, in our campuses. And this is, to us, it's a big step because aside from COVID issues right now that we are facing, we don't know if it is COVID, but now we can rule out the possibility of whether it's strep and flu. We are recommending for your approval to partner with the Gateway Community Health Center, who will be assisting us in the fact that we will provide telemedicine services for our students in our clinics, in our schools. They will provide 28 medical providers who would assist UISD and a dedicated line for UISD video calls for the parents and the children who are displaying these types of symptoms and who test positive for these areas. And we decided to go with Gateway, who provided the best benefit to us because they are also accustomed to working with the underinsured and the uninsured students, uninsured individuals in our community. So this is the information we have. We would like to start beginning, we pilot 7 campuses and would like to start sometime in January, the first weeks of January, to begin implementing this program across our district.
All right, so right now for like strep, flu, there's no diagnosis at the campus. They're all referred to a clinic, to a hospital, or a particular doctor, right?
Yes, sir, they all go home.
And so this would
Allow the nurse at the campus to test, right?
test.
And then they would have a telemedicine conference call with one of those 28 providers. And hopefully by the time that child leaves that campus with the parent, say it's confirmed you have flu, you have strep,
Right.
That prescription, that medication that is necessary to fight that virus would hopefully be in the process of getting filled. And they can go and we have that diagnosis at least with a partner with that doctor. So it's like visiting a doctor.
They're from school.
Yes, sir.
How long is your pilot?
Only a month. Only a month by the time they begin the equipment. Hopefully December.
Is this a self-reporting type that the student feels ill or sick, or is it recommended by the teacher who sees somebody with some symptoms?
It would be both, because the parent can come in and work with our healthcare provider at the campus with our nurse. But we do see a number of children who go to the clinics every day. We only have about 3,100 students right now who are on campus instruction for that matter. So it's a smaller number than our 42,000 students that we have across the district. But we are looking at, of course, those students coming in with their parent, and everything is with parental permission. So we are working on permission slips and so forth to work. Those who have insurance, of course, would have the copay, and that would be finalized with the Gateway Community Health. Those who have insurance, it's a payment that the parent would submit, just like if telemedicine, those of you who had a conference with telemedicine, they would submit their payment and their copay directly to Gateway.
That's a good question. If the student is remote learning and he has cold or flu and strep syndrome, can he go to the campus and participate?
We're looking at that, yes, sir.
Get the screening done without having to go to the clinic?
We are looking at, yes, possibly going there, sir, and providing the health services.
Or is this only for the ones who are on campus?
I would say that it will probably be for everybody who would ask for right now. We don't do that for COVID testing. Those have to be on campus instruction. But for this, I would say that it would benefit, of course, our students in any capacity to facilitate their health.
Would this entail doing any further training for existing nurses or?
No, well, it is a little bit of training, sir, because they would have to handle the equipment and the kits. They're very familiar with that.
Right.
We did have a session on Friday on the COVID testing, and so a lot of the nurses took part in that. So this is just another layer where they would have to swab either the nostril for the test or the throat for strep. And so it would be additional trainings.
The equipment was going to be provided by
All the equipment is provided, and so
teleconference.
they would supply every school in our district Gateway with all of the kits and, of course, the equipment needed for telemedicine.
Okay, I have a question. Sorry, I had to answer a telephone call and I may have missed it. Is there a, what is the term of this agreement that we're looking at with Gateway?
Cordy, I don't have that.
Yes, this is an annual contract that can be renewed annually. I also want to mention that there is no cost to the district because this will all be billed to the insurance or to Medicaid, and the parents would be responsible for the copays, those that have insurance. And then to Mr. Montemayor's comment, I do want to add that we did discuss with Gateway about our students that are at home, and they would allow for telemedicine for those students that are being instructed at home. They did clarify that.
Okay, awesome. And I have one more question. And for, you probably mentioned it and I was on the other line. What about for students who have no insurance or no Medicaid?
Gateway did mention that they do have some grants, but those would be taken on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, I think we need to be fair across the board, and everybody needs to be afforded this healthcare. And I like the fact that it will be an annual agreement that we have with Gateway. I'd like to see it continue, and I would like to also see it extended possibly to employees. I know maybe that's not possible right now, but I think we need to do everything we can, not only to combat the spread of COVID-19, but healthcare in general. So if we can do our part, it looks good to me, and I really like it.
Thank you.
Thank you. In addition to the two RFP, the RFP and the RFQ mentioned, we also have 4 renewals for your consideration, and they're listed on the summary of recommendations.
Thank you, Tom. Move to approve. No more for that. Motion was presented and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Good.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Item 6E, discussion and possible action to approve user board network infrastructure funds in the estimated amount of $1,085,424.83 as matching funds for E-rate year 23 grant application.
Good afternoon, Mr. Vélez, members of the board. Welcome, Mr. Castillo, Mr. Santos, a member of the audience. My name is Hector Perez. I'm the Executive Director of Information Technology, and I'm here to present to you the approval of funds that we would like to use from the Bond Network Infrastructure section. This item was presented to the Bond Oversight Committee last Monday, and the amount that we're requesting for your approval, it's $1,085,424.83. We have submitted the application, and we're getting ready to find out if it's going to get approved or not very soon. So we wanted to be ahead of the game in case it comes in. This particular application is going to help 23 campuses to upgrade their network infrastructure, which is needed. The network infrastructure at those campuses, it's about 11 years old. In addition, we're also including in the application the upgrade of all of our wireless infrastructure, our access points throughout the district. Our access points are already 7 to 8 years old, which is considered old in the technology world, and they're in need to be replaced. If the application gets approved, the district will receive $2,934,667.15 for a total of the project of $4,020,091.98. We do have a balance under our network infrastructure fund of $2.6 million. So we're asking for your approval for this item so that we can continue with the application.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Quick question, Hector. Are these the campuses? I noticed a bunch of campuses in my district and the surrounding districts, but for example, Herrera falls in between Troutman Elementary and Troutman Middle and United High School, those areas. They don't need infrastructure improvements or what?
Their equipment is not as old, sir. We did an upgrade about 4 years ago. They have Hewlett-Packard equipment, which is considered, decent, and it can be included on the next cycle of the application.
Okay.
The ones that we're replacing are the Cisco equipment, that it's about 12 years old. Some of those switches are very old. They run under 100 megabits per second instead of 1 gig or 10 gig. So what happens is we have a great connection between the campuses and central office at 10 gig and from central office to the cloud at 20 gig. But there's some bottlenecks at those campuses because they can only handle 100 megs. So this will make a huge difference for those campuses.
I see. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item 6F, discussion and possible action to approve award of RFP 029-2019 for HVAC system test and balance for elementary school number 31. With the consideration to PHI Service Agency Inc. in the amount of $52,800.
Thank you. Yes, we were recommending the test and balancing to be awarded to PHI, the amount of $52,800. This is a bond project and was taken to the Bond Oversight Committee last week.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Thank you, ma'am. Item 6G, approval of JOC 2020-006, safety and security window film installation at UISD campuses.
Good afternoon. The recommendation here is to award this contract to American Contracting and Roofing in the amount of $190,000, which includes a $50,000 contingency allowance. This is for the school safety and security grant. Normally, just for the record and for the benefit of our new board member, JOCs are only brought to the board when they're in the amount of over $500,000. But because we are going to do 2 phases of this, we're bringing the first $200,000 for approval, or $190,000, and then we'll be bringing an additional JOC for your approval at a later date.
Thank you for the information, ma'am. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. 6H, approve additional appraiser for the 2020-2021 school year.
Thank you, Mr. Valdez. Members of the board, Mr. Santos, Mr. Castillo. My name is David Garcia. I'm the Associate Superintendent for Human Resources. Welcome to United ISD to be one of our, be a member of our Board of Trustees. What we have here before you is the latest administrator that is licensed or certified by the state. And of course, we go through this process on a yearly basis, and normally we do this on a group process in order to have board approval for any administrator who's going to be part of evaluating teachers in classroom settings. This is a late change due to vacancy that occurred at Washington Middle School. The recommendee is Ms. Cassandra Thompson, formerly a teacher at Alexander, fully licensed by the state. And before she proceeds in evaluating teachers in a classroom setting, we need the board's consideration and hopefully approve in order for us to move forward for this individual to be able to evaluate teachers in a classroom setting.
Motion to approve. No motion, do we have a second? Second. Motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Item 6I, approval resolution of the United Independent School District Board of Trustees regarding STAR testing and accountability ratings during the 2020-2021 school year.
Good afternoon. We bring this resolution before you for your approval. Basically, what we're asking, due to the unprecedented times that we are experiencing, so many issues here that we would like for the governor to take into consideration and the Texas Education Agency. One, of course, being that they suspend the STAR testing and the resulting accountability ratings for the 2021 school year. We do have a national health threat. As Mr. Gonzalez mentioned previously, we may not have our students coming in to test, and that would be, of course, detrimental to our rating because it would be rated as, it would be counted as students who would not be participation, and our participation rate would, of course, be affected in that sense. But we don't count them as absent, it's just not participating, and that would affect our accountability. So there's other school districts across the state of Texas who have submitted resolutions similar to this. And so we are asking for your approval on this so that hopefully we can submit to the state and have this taken into consideration.
So, a motion, motion a second.
I second it.
Thanks, sir. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 All, none opposed, motion passes. Item 6J, discussion and possible action by resolution of the United Independent School District Board of Trustees to call for the recall of the United Independent School District's member on the Webb County Appraisal District Board of Directors and pass all United Independent School Districts 136 votes to recall Mr. Joe Gilpin, the United Independent School District's member of the Webb County Appraisal District Board of Trustee Directors, as per section 6.033 of the Texas Property. So moved. Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 Those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Item 6K, discussion and possible action by resolution of the United Independent School District Board of Trustees to nominate a candidate for the Webb County Appraisal District Board of Directors as a result of the recall of the United Independent School District member and to cast the all of Webb County's 936 votes for United Independent School District's new member to the Webb County Appraisal District Board of Directors for the remainder of the 2021 term as per section 6.033 of the Texas Property Tax Code.
So somebody needs to be, Mr. Ramirez right now is on the board, and now you need another person.
Motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion, Ricardo Molina, to appoint Ray Rodriguez.
All right, so motion is second. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second to nominate Mr. Rick Rodriguez for the appraisal board. Do we have any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed? Unopposed? Motion passes. Congratulations, Rick. Item 6L, approval first and final reading of policy DH, local employee standards of conduct.
We do have some revisions, a very minor revision on DH local. This is employee standards of conduct on page 5. You will see that we added the word or. An employee shall not manufacture, distribute, dispense, possess, use, or be under the influence of any of the following substances during working hours or while on district property or at school-related activities during or outside of usual working hours. So it can be on or off the premises.
So move to approve. Motion. Second. Motion a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 None opposed, motion passes. Thank you, ma'am. Item 6M, approval first and final reading policy DHE, local employee standards of conduct searches and alcohol and drug testing.
We also have a revision to this one as well, sir. And board members, we're looking at page 5, and this is a violation of policy. And it basically says that it's an employee shall be in violation of district policy and subject to disciplinary action up to including termination. And what we're asking for is, we also put the word in or, when you have a test result that meets or exceeds the standards established for Department of Transportation testing, the DOT standards shall not be limited to cases involving accidents. And that or is what ties in the other one, possesses, uses, or is under the influence of alcohol, prohibited drugs, or controlled substances in the workplace. An employee should not be legally intoxicated to be considered under the influence of alcohol or drugs. So it has to be either or statement. So we go by the standards of the Department of Transportation, but they would have to show that they are legally intoxicated in that sense. Not necessarily, there's a threshold that they have for Department of Transportation, and they would have to exceed that threshold.
It says that they don't have to be legally intoxicated to be.
Correct, sir, because we go by DOT standards. And so we have had a situation where we had to take this into consideration so that the policy would be cleared, put us up in that particular situation.
Not only to belabor the point, can you give me a scenario where a person is not legally intoxicated, but
Yes, we had a case already. We terminated a teacher years ago at Arts Elementary, and basically the teacher coach was coming in and showtimes are being kind of under the influence. Principal did the right thing. She went, met with the teacher. Obviously, it's not like a brewery. So Monday, it was, I guess, stayed up too late. So went to go get a test, and he showed up highly to be 0.3, 0.4. We took it to a termination hearing, and the opposing counsel argued to the hearing examiner, if you basically take, because I was arguing, although it's not 0.08 level of intoxication to be legally intoxicated, he still was within some type of alcohol in his system. And they were saying, well, if you take Mr. Cruz's argument, then if a husband takes his wife, the teacher, to Olive Garden and they have a glass of wine, then that means that they are going to be subject to termination. I said, yes. At UISD, we want people to be 0.00. You don't have intoxication, whether it's legal or not, in your system because you're basically overseeing kids.
Right.
Now, there are going to be instances where people are going to have medicine and stuff like that, but that's part of the policy that we, and training that we give employees is like, if you're going to have something that's going to impair you, you have to tell your supervisor because you're not going to be behind the bus and have some type of alcohol in your system. So that's why we have that you don't not need to be legally intoxicated in order to violate this policy.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
So then, is that like they can't? I understand they can't go to Olive Garden during lunch hour and have a drink, but they can't go the night before and have a drink.
Well, yes, but not have so many drinks that the alcohol stays in your system. You know, what ended up happening in my case is that through depositions, we discovered that the gentleman had stayed up till 3 a.m. because the football game went into overtime with the buddies and stuff like that. It's like, you need to know that you have to be alcohol free. So everybody's tolerance level is different, and don't, you show signs, that's when we have the allowance in our board policy to subject you to an alcohol or drug test.
I can see this coming as because it's kind of vague. Like if you can define for me what legally intoxicated is and define for me what influence of alcohol or drugs is, probably give me a little bit more meat to it because it's going to be clear. A guy can use marijuana 2 weeks ago, test positive, now, and which part of that definition is he legally intoxicated or is he under the influence?
No, I don't think that, at that point, it's not gonna, if it shows up, if it's not registered in your body, it's not, but if you have anything like 0.203.3%, some type of alcohol in your system, you're not gonna be legally intoxicated, but you're still gonna be in violation of the policy. That's what we have put in.
I approve the concept. I think it's okay. I just think that we need a little bit more meat because I know it's coming down the pipe. There's going to be a agreement.
Well, it says an employee shall be in violation of district policy and subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination when he or she refuses. And we've had employees that also refuse to go through an alcohol test, a drug test. We've had counselors. We have other people that say they know that they, have had some type of improper substance in their body. So they say, no, if you don't want to go through a test, fine, you resign or you be terminated. Number 2, you have test results that meet or exceed the standards for dot testing. So that's, your employees over there. The third one is if you possess, you use, or you're under the influence of alcohol, prohibited drugs, or controlled substances in the workplace. We don't want anybody with drugs in the workplace. And an employee need not be legally intoxicated to be considered under the influence of alcohol or drugs, which is what the example that I just gave. You don't have to be at 0.08%, which is the level of legal intoxication. You could be under and be subject to termination.
So let me ask you something, Mr. President. If you're going to be under meds by a doctor, so the recommendation from the board would be or to make a decision and say you cannot go into a school setting, period.
Well, if the drugs are going to impair you, let's say, for example, you have a lot of sleeping medication, and bring it up to your supervisor so that if we know that you're not being able to function, and we'll send you to a medical examination, so on and so forth, with your job description. If you're okay and the doctor says okay, you'll continue with your job duties. But if you're taking drugs and somehow it's going to impair your ability to do your job function, then
and I think
you may have to be reassigned.
Grievances to where they have been taking medication. And I know that it's been coming up and they're still in the classroom. And I know that if there's been an impairment, probably there has, because they brought it up on some of the grievances. And apparently their supervisors were notified, but they still continued taking the medication. But they were still either in a school setting or classroom or any type of performance that they were doing. I understand like in a heavy machinery or something like that, it's more of a precaution, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of employees that still continue with their medications because they can't afford to miss the work. Either they don't have days, and if they don't have the days, they're gonna lose pay, and they're still coming into work.
The issues that we get is when people are falling asleep at work, or people are showing to be slurring their speech and stuff like that. That's when somebody reports, a neighboring teacher or a janitor reports to the principal or
And
something like
in
that.
some cases, we've had actually the students record their teachers and post it up on
Right.
sites. That's
So
how
the
we
time
do
that we're
that.
gonna be looking at this, particular policy is when there's something that already happened or something was observed.
Yes,
So,
Mhm.
Does DOT have a definition at all for legal intoxication?
Did I understand? Yes, sir. Yes, they did, because that's the experience that we had with that. And the 8.05, sir.
I'll move to approve. I'll move to approve.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Right.
Aye.
All those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. Agenda item 7, closed session. At this time, I want to recommend we go into closed session. Time is now 12:36 p.m. and the board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to section 551.071 of Texas Government Code to discuss agenda item 7A.
Mr. Castillo, if you just want to hang on for a little bit, everybody else is going to be out of the room for, but just hang on there and we'll start closed session in a little bit.
Yes.
The new middle school that we have under construction. All right, do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 Molina, congratulations, sir, well deserved.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Molina.
Agenda item 8B, the recommendation is to approve the settlement agreement, the cost number 2019 CVH 001030D3 South Impacto Media versus UISD, currently pending in the 341st Judicial District Court of Webb County, Texas, and cost number 0420 00376 CV South UISD versus Impacto Media as discussed in closed session.
Come on.
Second. Further discussion, all those in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. Agenda item 9, adjournment. I make a recommendation to adjourn 1:33 p.m. Motion.
So move.
Second. All right, so we're adjourned 1:33 p.m.